Chapter 2.
I'm Eric Cargill.
And I'm Rachel Elnar, and this is Cheers and Tears.
Design Leadership Tales Retold.
Oh my God, Eric, it's been so long. How are you
Yes,
doing?
it has. It's been a while. I've been doing all right. Even though I saw you 2 weeks ago, I'm still doing
that's
okay.
right. That was so much fun. So, Eric, we have two amazing community leaders as our guests. Our guests first connected through AIGA Charlotte. We're both served on the board, Carolyn across multiple chapters, including Charlotte, Boston, and Pittsburgh, and Taylor for nearly a decade, including as president. Today, Carolyn is the Associate Director of Expanded Education at the School of Museum of Fine Art at Tufts, connecting artists through lifelong learning. Taylor is VP of Technology at Carbon House, a Charlotte digital agency that's built websites for over 300 arts venues worldwide. Together, they bring deep expertise in building creative communities and bridging art with technologies. And I'm so pleased to have them both here with us today. Please welcome Carolyn Colonna and Taylor Nall.
Welcome. Welcome, both of you.
Hey, thank you.
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited to have you guys. I have not seen you both
Absolutely.
for forever. Please don't tell me that I've not talked to you since Omaha, because if so, I'll be very sad.
Rachel, I think you and I met up in New York at some point. But I'm blanking on what I was in New York for something, and you were in New York for something, and we
It was
met up
the gala.
for a glass of champagne. Oh, right.
Rachel, I think we tried to connect, and I think I was out in LA a few times for work, and I think we tried to connect, but it's just the schedules never aligned. So
It never does. Thank God we have social media and we're able to keep up with each other's lives. But for those people who are not aware of both of you, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about how you got involved with AIGA, what year, what chapters, what roles, and we'll start with you, Carolyn.
Sure. I started my AIGA journey in Boston. In my first job, my boss got me a membership to AIGA as my bonus for the year. And so that was my first introduction. I admittedly didn't attend a lot of events, but I received a phone call from one of the board members asking me to join a membership panel, just asking folks about the chapter. And I said, well, I haven't really attended much. And they said, great, come and give us your opinions as what would, make you get more involved. And from there, next thing I knew, I ended up on a committee, which brought me onto the board. And from there, I got very involved in the membership community. And then when I moved to Charlotte, I immediately thought, where am I going to find my community? And I joined AIGA Charlotte there and started attending events where I met Taylor and some of the other folks there. And Charlotte at the time was going through a period of a lot of influx of people coming from other cities and other states. So there were a lot of folks like me who had come to the area and were looking for that community. So AIGA was really a great connection point. And again, naturally, I ended up joining a committee, which ended up becoming a board position, which ultimately led to being chapter president. From there, similar type of move, I moved to Pittsburgh and again immediately joined the AIGA community there. At the time, I was the incoming President's Council chair and then the President's Council chair, and then from there moved on to be part of the membership chapter advisory committee. So I stayed as part of a board position for AIGA Pittsburgh, but kind of holding those national roles. And then later found myself circling all the way back here to Boston again. So it was sort of a journey.
Wait, you're in Boston? You?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, all right. Okay, Taylor.
yeah, so I think I moved to Charlotte just a little bit before Carolyn, and at that point, I kind of got sort of given the position of internet director from my boss. He wanted to sort of keep the AIGA Charlotte site under our company umbrella. And so, one event he couldn't make it to, he was like, "Hey, can you go? I'm going to miss it." And I think from there on out, I don't think I was even actually elected to the board at any point during my tenure. It was just sort of like I was just given this role. So, but then I was internet coordinator for 2 or 3 years. Then, got roped into doing the VP position when Carolyn was president. And then, of course, took on president for 2 years after that. And then I was on the advisory board for 2 or 3 years. So after which, kind of work took over and kind of AIJ took a back seat from then on out. So.
And that happens.
Yeah.
Both of you, I've noticed when you're telling us about your history, you've really been part of AIJ for a long time. I mean, it sounds like for well over a decade. Is there anything that you've learned from your experience of AIJ that feeds into what you're doing right now?
Oh, I think for sure. I have to thank AIGA for so many aspects of my career that AIGA was really a training ground for leadership abilities, community building, the ability to be a public speaker, event planning experience, how to coordinate volunteers, how to run a meeting effectively, how to rise other people up around you that you work with to bring out the best in them. So I think the most direct career connection I would say AIGA had is sort of pivoting from my early career was really, brand design and strategy focused. And then through my experiences with AIGA, I started to realize I really enjoyed that sort of planning, community building aspect. And I started shifting into project management, which ultimately brought me to program planning, which is what I do for the School of the Museum of Fine Arts right now. So I say AIGA has been sort of this common thread on my resume that has kind of, lent expertise to almost every avenue that I've pursued in the time since I joined AIGA.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, I have a lot to owe to AIGA because my current job, they actually found me through the AIGA portfolio website. I didn't even apply to the job. They just kind of found mine, called me in, and the rest is history. I'm here 20 years later. So, but one of the biggest things was, just the leadership aspect. I think I came in, mid-20s or something like that, and just, didn't really have. I'm an introvert, and so it's like coming into these roles, you gotta learn how to bring out your extrovert, and so definitely AIGA kind of developed those leadership capabilities, and that really just contributed to my career and just being a leader there. I think also just, friendships as well. So I know Carolyn already spoke about there was an influx of several of us at the same time. So developed a lot of friendships there. And so, yeah, just a lot to owe to AIGA, personally and professionally. So
You both have been very impacted by the leadership aspect of AIGA, which is a good segue into talking about the leadership retreats, that we're here to talk about. And if you could tell us about the first leadership retreat that you both attended together, where it was, when it was, if you remember, and some of the more memorable aspects of that retreat.
I think even though Taylor and I both attended Miami was our first one together, right?
Yeah.
I would say Omaha, I have to
Right.
say, is the more impactful of the
for
two,
sure.
if you don't mind us jumping
yeah.
forward to that one. Because for me, having attended the Miami retreat and the San Francisco retreat before that, one thing that had stuck out is the ability to be involved in the retreat itself. So Charlotte either was invited to speak, do a presentation when they had the little presentations in between things, or either that or maybe I volunteered us, but either way we were selected. And I realized that not many of the other retreats had presentations that really stuck in my mind. So I was thinking, I really want us to be remembered. Here we are, this little chapter that most of the big chapters got all the energy. And so Taylor and I and a few other members of the board, Aaron Schertz was on the board with us at the time. And we had this arc of programming that we were really proud of, that because most people were transplants, we sort of had these, networking, meet other people type events all the way through these very professional events. And we were trying to come up with a hook. And Taylor, I don't remember who came up with this.
Yeah, I don't
but
remember.
we started we started referring to our business plan, our event plan, as a mullet, where it was like business in the front and party in the back was our arc. And so we created a presentation using a mullet meter
I forgot
to
about the
present
mullet
our
meter.
arc.
Yeah.
Love it.
I know. I think you designed our logo. You were Banks, and we had a little slideshow. We had a mullet icon, and we had a meter that showed our arc of events from the big speaker events where we brought in Stefan Sagmeister or Debbie Millman as our business in the front, moving on through different speaker panels and whatnot, all the way down to our very casual networking, and casual coffee morning groups were the sort of party in the back. So that, I think, kicked off Charlotte's, exposure at Omaha. And, I'll let Taylor chime in a bit from here on how
Yeah, I think too, that was also like the website that we had for the chapter, we kind of went rogue. And we weren't using like the platform on AIGA.org. We had done like AIGACharlotte.org, built this whole thing. And so I know a lot of people were coming to me like, how did you do it? Like what did you do? And so it kind of tied in with, our programming as well. There was just a lot of, what are you guys doing and trying to figure that out. And I think it was just, we had a lot of free time at that point. So we were just, and also just spending a lot of time together. But I remember Omaha, especially, it felt like a lot of the smaller chapters like us were, giving these presentations about like all of these things that they were doing. And I think before then it felt like it was more the big chapters, they were kind of running the show, and so it's like you could just sort of see sort of the power of the smaller chapters and their ideas and what they could bring to sort of the AIGA community as a whole. So
Were you both on the board at the time?
So at the time, I was president, and Taylor, were you vice president at that point?
Omaha,
can't remember.
let's see, I'm trying to, because
Or were you still internet director? You may have kind
I
of
may
been
have
bridging
been
both at the
bridging
time.
like during the summer, so getting ready to be president. So
We also, that reminds me, in that same vein, we had branded all of our events, which I have to thank Josh Silverman for being sort of the granddaddy of branding an event. That from AIJ Boston, I stole or borrowed from the idea of the AFTA, which they had branded. And so in Charlotte, and again, like Taylor said, we were all new to the area, and AIGA was professional and our social life. So we put a lot of energy into it, and we branded all of our events as well, which was also sort of part of this presentation. So I think being in a smaller chapter in Omaha was part of it, being part of a smaller chapter that had its profile raised in that moment, having the energy of the other smaller chapters, and then obviously the proliferation of social media just really kind of combined to make that such a memorable experience, I think, for a lot of people, but for us and our chapter in particular, that Charlotte kind of had a bit of a spotlight on it for a while after that return.
Was Omaha the first branded retreat?
I
Yeah.
think they each had a theme,
Okay.
but there was,
Focus was the theme, and I don't see any other themes. I only call that out just simply because I wasn't at Omaha myself, but a lot of the guests that we've had on here, Omaha is really I can't think of the right metaphor, a North Star.
It's a prerequisite.
Uh,
You can't get
yeah,
on this podcast unless you've been to Omaha.
That's right. Yeah.
I've been to Omaha, but I
Yeah.
just wasn't there for
I know.
AIGA. But Omaha being the where human pyramids started,
Yeah.
the whole pyramid thing.
Which I think we were part of the first one. I'm pretty sure. I think there's
yeah.
photo evidence of that. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
I know I've heard that contested quite a bit
Yeah.
on this podcast, but we do have photos from there used to be a costume icebreaker night, and Taylor and Banks Wilson were wearing NASCAR outfits that Banks got. They were like legit real NASCAR outfits, and Rachel Martin and I were dressed as NASCAR fans. We had big hair and the big earrings and all the we were being sort of a stereotype, I would say. But we are in costume at a bowling alley or a bar or somewhere that I think may not have been where the costume party
yeah.
still was, doing a pyramid with the now infamous Lauren Langfit. I will say, which I need to find somewhere, I do have a photo somewhere of Lauren and I in a human pyramid with Rick Griffey that I am actually mailing on Rick Griffey's back. So I will have to find that for you.
Yes, definitely. Please find that.
I will sell prints of that. Limited edition print.
Make t-shirts.
I also love the mullet meter because, I mean, you could bring that back now and it would still be relevant. So
That's
yeah,
true.
that's, I mean, in terms of
We'll have a whole line of merch.
memorable moments, that sticks out. I love that.
Oh, Omaha was just such a fun time, and I think also the proliferation of social media made a big difference. Showing up and not having an account at all, and then leaving with an account and 100 new friends.
Oh, yeah,
And it just made a big difference versus the previous retreats. You'd come home with like a Ziploc bag full of business cards, which were cool, but for 2 retreats before that, I met people, but they kind of went into the wind because you didn't really have a string of a connection to those folks other than if you had a very specific reason to reach out. But leaving a retreat with a digital thread to all these folks that you can keep in touch with, even just passively, was a really great way to connect and foster those relationships over time. I mean, I know, Rachel, that's where you and I first met, and I think that just really strengthened this sort of class, I guess, of AIJ leaders.
It was not only the digital thread or social media, but was actually having that group. We had a group, an AIJ leadership group, which a couple people said, "Can you please not tag me on my photo because I don't want anyone else to see that." So when you mentioned Taylor was in a NASCAR costume, my brain went right to that photo. Like I can see it
Oh,
super
nice.
clearly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's because of those photos and that shared album and the shared tagging. Yeah, that was crazy when we got home and everybody was still talking. It was so much fun.
That was 2008. Was Facebook open to everyone by then, or was it still
Just
MySpace?
opened. It just
It just
opened, which is
opened.
why I
wow,
went
okay.
down that printed list that we got and invited
Yeah.
everybody.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what
Okay.
we've done before that. So you both went to Miami. Do you remember anybody from Miami? I mean, so I'm just trying to think like social media or no social media. Like,
I mean, definitely Varick and Karen for sure. Who could forget those two? It was a fun time. I mean, we definitely connected with people, but it was, I would say Miami was one of my lesser favorites in that it was less accessible. I know I listened to the podcast with Barrick and Karen, and I there were like the really fun pool parties, but I think it was so expensive there, and there was less concerted groupings of going out and
Yeah,
about
yeah.
in the area. I think because of how expensive it was.
I think that's
and
why the
that
pool
was-
parties happened. So yeah.
yeah, which was super fun. But I find overall that retreat was less burned into my memory than sort of the Omaha forward ones, where I think that ability to communicate and keep the group sort of moving in similar directions really made such an impact on how people participated.
I do want to say something. I want to remark because you said people keep coming in and out of your chapter. You mentioned Aaron Schertz, who was part of your chapter. Gage Mitchell was also part of your chapter, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, he was
Yep.
in Miami with both of us. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Got
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Gage Mitchell, and also Aaron Schertz, who you guys spoke with, were on the board together with Taylor and I. And then there were a lot of Charlotte chapter folks who, we were all transplants from other places that came to Charlotte, and then sort of due to the economic changes in the 2010s-ish area, folks just sort of dispersed all over the country again, back to, people went to California, people went to Seattle, people went to New York, Pittsburgh, Boston, Florida. So it was kind of fun in some ways to come back and see folks through a different lens. Like for myself, going to AIJ Pittsburgh, and then coming to the retreats as an AIJ Pittsburgh chapter board member, and getting together with my former AIJ Charlotte chapter board members, and seeing, actually, I think Gage also was there as well. So that was kind of this, reconnecting moment after we'd all dispersed to other chapters.
It's like we have a national chapter. Everybody's
Yeah.
together. You mentioned Josh Silverman.
right.
It's like everybody knows each other.
yeah.
Well, for more overlap, we, AIJ Charlotte, partnered with AIJ Raleigh to do a joint design competition. And so to do that, we a few times got our chapters together, socially and to work on projects. So, there are a lot of these connection points that happen not only during the retreats, but then I think that camaraderie that you experience at the retreat, you just want to keep making that magic happen wherever else you can. So I think that inspired us to have some of these get-togethers with our other, state neighbor chapter. So Mike Josie, Matt Munez, those folks were leaders kind of at the same time that Taylor and I were.
I went to several conferences after the fact, with because Aaron Schertz and Gage were both in Seattle, and I think we almost had a mini retreat out there with I think Seth Johnson was speaking, as well as Karen Kariki. So just continued connections across, especially from those that just dispersed from here in Charlotte.
So much fun. Tell me about some of the other retreats. I didn't attend either Miami or San Francisco. Was there anything notable about those retreats, even though they're not as fun as Omaha?
I would say my next most notable would have been Portland. So Taylor and I both attended Portland after Omaha, which was the proliferation of Twitter after Facebook. So it became the hashtag was the next step. So I think other folks have brought this up, but I remember going to that retreat, and sort of the after parties or the after gatherings would be folks would put the AIJ retreat hashtag on a piece of paper and tape it to the doors of things so that you would know where to go next. So if the rumor was everybody go to XYZ, bar or place, and we were moving on, we would leave notes like taped to the door of the bar where people were supposed to be and saying, you know, find out where we are next, you know, hashtag AIG
I love
retreat.
that.
And
That's great.
so I think that having those tools kind of helped folks, you know, move things along. And then you know, to bring up Josh Silverman again, I have a memory of, and I'm hoping my memory is accurate, but of being at, I believe it was the Chattanooga, like the last night of the retreat party that the next host city runs, and we were at their party and it was kind of winding down, and Josh Silverman sent me a message or texted me or whatnot and said, Colonna, get everyone to go to the Doug Fir. I know you can do it. I have faith in you. And so we just started spreading the rumor and saying, I heard people are going to the Doug Fir. Where'd you hear that? I'm not sure, but I heard. So we started just circulating. I heard people are going to the Doug Fir. And then I have photos of just sort of this
Mass.
long line
Over
of
the bridge.
AIGA
Yeah.
walking over the bridge on our way to the Doug Fir, where I believe there may have been some infamous pyramids that got kiboshed by the bouncers.
I think that was the sketches trying to get the 5-tier going. So
Got it. And so, Taylor, you were in a bunch of pyramids too, correct?
I think so. I tended to be on the bottom, which I don't know. I'm not that
I can
large.
relate.
So yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah.
Any memorable ones?
Yeah. I think it was probably like one of those in Portland because we got pretty high. There was one that we did like in somebody's room, I remember, across
Across the bed?
like
Across the beds?
Yeah. And I think Debbie Millman was there.
What?
So, which was, it was kind of a weird, like, what's going on? What are we doing? So
Was she in the pyramid? No.
I think she was just an observer. So yeah. So
Just gonna watch that happen.
yeah.
And Carolyn was always on top because when we always say we need someone on top, everyone says Carolyn.
I know. I think that if I were to write a memoir of the leadership retreats, it would be titled like Tales of a Pyramid Topper or that I think I have a photo of one of the infamous five stack, although I heard rumors that folks may have done a higher one later on, but it was the ones that happened at I think it was in Portland at the top of an elevator bank. There was like a little like lobby area, and in the photo I'm like holding onto the ceiling beam because I'm just like, if this goes out from under me, you know,
You won't fall.
I don't want to land on everyone. Yeah.
So I've only heard through our guests that they started in Omaha, but they kind of started in Miami, right? On stage.
I don't remember that, but I heard other folks say that, so I can't say for sure. But there was a talent show that used to happen.
Really?
And so there used to be, I think Omaha was when the chapters just got too big. So, or the number of chapters got too many, but it used to be that the initial night icebreaker was that every chapter had to participate in a talent show or some kind of performance. So you had like 4 or 5 seconds on stage to do a skit. And I think the first year when I went to San Francisco, our president at the time didn't mention it, so we didn't participate. So I don't even 100% remember what ours was. I just remember we all had red T-shirts that said AIGA that we put on with like iron-on letters, but I don't remember what.
I think that was Miami. Yeah. Now I'm remembering.
So that was Miami.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that was when Bernard had he did like a ukulele performance. So that was really one of the only ones I really have a strong memory of was the ukulele performance. So there may have been a pyramid that took place as part of the skits or the talent show. And then I think moving into Omaha, there were just so many chapters and it was so time consuming. That's when they moved to the costume party, that you were supposed to wear a costume that represented your chapter, your city. And then I don't know. Portland, I think, moved to buttons, that we all made
Oh,
buttons
Oh,
for
right.
our
Yeah.
chapters, which Nikki Mueller, now Clinton, in our chapter became obsessed with button making and just made us like a huge number of buttons for everything, for every event and everything that we had moving forward. And
Do you still have all those? Do you still have all those buttons somewhere?
I have a handful.
Yeah,
I have a
probably
handful somewhere.
somewhere. Yeah. There's probably like a box of like swag from all of those,
Sure.
that I just,
Yeah.
who knows where it is now. So,
I have a photo of Mira Azram wearing a jacket with just buttons up and down from all the chapters. I don't remember in Minnesota what the icebreaker was, which I should remember because I was
I think it
chapter.
was like trading cards. Like we had to design
Oh,
design
right,
trading
trading
cards.
cards.
Yeah.
So there were always like a fun icebreaker element that, usually you'd come home with some collectible stuff. I think maybe it was Minneapolis was also the one where there was a chapter that they did mug shots. Each chapter has a table with their swag, and someone had mug shots set up. And but do you guys remember which
I don't
chapter
remember
was
which
that did
chapter,
that?
but we had that in Denver.
yeah, that was San Francisco,
Yeah.
and they had little tattoos, AIJ for life.
That's right.
That's right.
I'm starting to think, listening to you, that you have to get people out of their safe zones, right? Get out of their comfort zone. And once you do that, like those bonds, those memories are more cemented. Because if you just sit there and you just watch people do those things, you might not remember it. But if you actually do it and you get into costume, wow, those stories really come alive. It's really interesting in terms of community building.
Yeah. I think that was Omaha. It was like just being in that NASCAR outfit. It was like, you know, you don't know who I am, and that kind of could just really get out of my shell there. So
Yeah.
I think Rachel brings up a really good point that these are the things that here we are, quite a bit of time later, these are the parts of the retreats that stick in our mind, even though I'm confident that there was amazing content
Yeah.
that we listened to. It was really the relationships
Yeah.
and the connections and the fun and the, leadership building pieces of it that over time have really stuck in my mind. That, those moments where, folks are dressed up in crazy costumes and, the Jacksonville folks with the Michael Jackson masks, or we're walking around in NASCAR outfits or what have you. And then the buttons and the trading cards and the, various ways that you're connecting with other people. Even the infamous personality test at Omaha, where they had I don't know if they were like a life coach or type of inspirational speaker, but they came in and had everybody divide out
Oh yeah.
into their personality trait, ENFJ or what category you were in. And then they were asking people questions. And of course, the introvert side was a little calmer and quieter, and the extrovert side was
It was so loud on
loud
the
and
other side.
rowdy. And as you may have guessed, Taylor and I were
Yeah.
like yin and yang of operating with, the introvert and the extrovert. We made a good team. So
Before the conference, I do remember receiving that piece of paper where you had to like fill it out, right? You had to do a little bit of homework, go to some website and like take this test. And I'm like, this is so annoying. Like, what is this for? And then when the session happened and you had to get up out of your seats, push the chairs over, and people started moving across the room, that is one of the talks that sits in my mind. Just getting people up out of their comfort zone really gets them to participate in the content more so than just sitting there and observing. So yeah, I remember that. That's 18 years ago. I remember that.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. Yeah, I could think back. So Denver was my first, and it was kind of like I went. I met a lot of great people. That's where I met Rachel, and Carolyn. I guess you and I met too. But ultimately it was about those relationships.
Yeah, I always try to think about how to bring those back to the chapters, right? How do you get
Yeah.
people or how do you recreate that magic? There's something that happened at the chapter, the leadership retreats that didn't happen in our own chapters. Go back and there was maybe a talking panel or whatever, an interview or some sort of demo or workshop or whatnot. But there's something that happened, and it could be because all of us were leaders, but the leadership retreat was such a joy. I kept telling people, join the board because you get to go to the leadership retreat.
I think what LA needed was a little Project Mullet.
Yeah.
That I would say that our, our Charlotte board, I would say, and our Charlotte chapter in general, I think mimicked a little bit of the retreat in that one of the magic of the leadership retreat is you have all these folks from all over the country who come together with different perspectives, different ideas, combined passion, and then you're thrown into this, 2 or 3 or 4 day, you know, consolidation of people and space to trade ideas and think about things. And Charlotte at that moment in time really were people from all over the country, from different places, and AIJ Charlotte was somewhere they could come together and share that passion. And like I said, I think it became a social life and professional outlet for folks. So that really kind of mimicked that experience, especially with the type of programming that we offered at the time, where we had this balance of, fun, networking, so we kind of had the extrovert and introvert version. We had the networking at a bar, you can have a beer, talk to people. And then we also had these coffee house morning before work discussion groups that there were folks who would come month after month after month and never say a word. But they just wanted to observe. They just wanted to be part of it. And so I think I wouldn't say it's, we didn't have human pyramids or those types of things, but I think that our chapter in that moment kind of mimicked a little bit the way the retreats work, that you just had all these ideas from all over the place and a bunch of different outlets for expressing those ideas and coming together.
Amazing. I love that. I would like to know a little bit more about the mullet. So was it just, do you mean it's like the blend of events, or it was how you connected or how you conducted the events? Like you're talking about branded events. What does that mean exactly?
So we had a spectrum of events that each type of event had a brand. So that way we made them repeatable. And so each type we had, and of course I'm kind of forgetting what we called some of them now.
I'm trying to remember like the marquee ones that we used to do, like the speakers. I mean, we even had for those, it was like, this is going to be this type of event. So Buzz is really the only one I can remember right now.
Yeah. So I guess if we started from the tail of the mullet and worked that way, we had Buzz, which was the morning coffee shop discussion group. So that was every month. It was a moderated discussion, so it would have a topic that was pre-selected and a pre-selected moderator. So I think originally we had one moderator who ran them every month after month, and then we started mixing it up and having a guest moderator who was an expert on that topic that would facilitate the conversation. They were an hour. And then we had Meat Market, but MEET, Meat Market, which was monthly. That was our networking event, which was always held at some kind of bar or social place where you could come and there was no theme. It was just come and meet fellow designers and chat and have a drink or a soda or whatever. We had Design Unplugged, I believe, was the name of our panel groups. So we would have those, I think were maybe quarterly-ish, and we'd have a topic, we'd have a moderator, and then we'd have 4 or 5 panelists, and the moderator would ask questions to the panelists who would answer, and then we had an audience who could pose a few questions as well. Then we had at least one other kind that I'm forgetting. And then we had our marquee events, like Taylor mentioned, where we brought in Debbie Millman, Stefan Sagmeister, Brian Singer, Imaginary Forces, and those would be the sort of lecture style event that would be in a larger hall. But each one had a brand, each one had a logo, each one had a repeatable event plan so that it wasn't a drain on our volunteer board. So at a time for a chapter that only had a couple hundred members, we were putting on 30 something events a year because we had these sort of repeatable
It was like
structures.
almost like every other week we were having something. So yeah.
That's great. Not only for revenue for the chapter, but also for engagement. And if they're easier to produce and execute, that's better for everybody. So I love that idea. Plus the idea that you are making sure there's something for everyone by mapping out these brands across both introvert and extrovert type of audiences. I love that. Yeah, that's a great. I think this is the type of thing that some of the new chapters could, or not the new chapters, but the new leadership of chapters could definitely benefit from, especially after COVID, right? A lot of our communities have sort of disintegrated a bit or lowered, and it's really hard to get people back together. I think brand awareness is a great way to bring people back on a regular basis. So yeah, I think those are great ideas. Bring the mullet back, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, is Charlotte still going? Still going
I
strong?
don't think so. I was checking, and I think it has gone away, unfortunately. So I think you know the previous president before we joined the board, he had a brief stint, and then I think COVID just kind of. I think we were really like punching above our weight when we were on the board. Like we really, just for the community around here, it's a bit more, I guess, ad driven. So sort of gravitating more towards that than AIGA. So yeah, and I think just you know we also it's a bunch of transplants. People moved, and so we just didn't have that same core. So yeah, it's unfortunate. So like I said, I kind of fell off after the presidency and advisory board, and so but yeah, that, that kind of stuff happens. So
Yeah, it does happen. And you're bringing your best practices to your work, which is where when we get older, that's kind of where you need to focus on, right?
yeah. Well, I think when we were on the board, Carolyn, we talked about like we were not going to be like the past regime and just disappear, never to come to events and that kind of thing. And sure enough, like as soon as you get through, those years being on the board, you're like, okay, I need a break, and then you're like, oh, it is kind of nice to explore some other things here. So
That reminds me, when Taylor said that, it reminds me that so much of my social life in Charlotte was AIJ Charlotte. And all of my friends really just were designers that actually a few other women and I, inspired by an episode of The Office where the crew of The Office had the Finer Things Club, where they, I don't know, at lunchtime they read poetry or drank tea or something. We made a group called the Other Interests Club because we realized we all actually had other interests outside of design that we were never pursuing with one another because we were so focused on design. So we had these, monthly get-togethers where we would, go to a museum or do something gardening related or made a craft or just something other.
Wow, who knew that had to inspire a movement? We're so deep into design, you need to have a movement just to talk about other things.
Other things.
That's amazing. I love it. It's so great speaking to you both. I did want to ask you, even if it's not AIGA, are there other communities you're a part of or you contribute to or you attend?
I think for me, working in higher ed right now, my community really is the art school. So I think I kind of put my AIJ-esque energy into the, SMFA community that I still, love design and love mentoring folks. So I office share with our director of career services and our career services for AIGA. And, she will often send me design students to just kind of give them my personal experience. And I often give them resources from AIGA, and then, planning events and programming. But I think, that, and then my teenage daughter is an athlete. So I'd say my other community is sort of supporting the boosters and the different sports franchises that she belongs to.
Yeah, I'm completely removed from design at this point, so fully in as a web developer. So, and even that, it's like originally was in a few communities here and there, but most of my time right now is I've got a 3-year-old, so that's pretty much been it.
That's the best age.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah,
It really
is. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 3 teenagers. That's not the best age.
That doesn't sound good. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for sharing memories and talking about all the things and just remembering what amazing chapter you guys led. And you're right, you were punching above your weight. You guys were rock stars for a small chapter like Charlotte and doing 30 plus events and just hearing about it across, all the way here to LA, like quite amazing. So thank you so much. It was great sharing this with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Cheers and Tears will be back next time with more design leadership tales retold.
Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast with your creative community, design leaders, and friends.
Cheers and Tears Design Leadership Tales Retold is a production of Chapter 2 and hosted by us, Rachel Elnar and Eric Cargill. This episode was produced and edited by Rachel Elnar. Podcast graphics by Eric Cargill. Animation by Verso Design and Megato Design.
The theme music track is Loose Ends by Silver Ships Plastic Oceans. Follow Cheers and Tears on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube podcasts, or wherever you get your audio and video podcasts. Subscribe to our email list at cheersandtears.com so you don't miss an episode.